Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Great to be with you once again for another daily Zohar study. And we have another beautiful study and connection today, continuing what we spoke about yesterday and starting to go back into the topics of this week's of the portion of Miketz. So, as always, let's begin by setting our intention, setting our consciousness, our desire through this study, our intention. Yesterday, the Zohar spoke about when we choose to go to the right, meaning to connect to sharing, to connect to light, to connect to the tree of life, then we draw that support, we draw that consciousness, we draw those angels to support us in that direction. And as we're studying the Zohar, our desire is to be connecting in that way. When we choose the left, when we choose selfishness, when we choose desire to receive for the self alone, when we choose the quick fix and the temporary comfort and everything that our opponent and ego uh, tempt us and convince us to partake of, that's when a person finds themselves controlled by those limited desires, finding themselves in more chaos. So, as we are connecting to the Zohar now, we are setting our intention that we are choosing that side of positivity, of connection, of sharing, of consciousness, of the soul, so that we will be drawn to that for the entire day. As we study the Zohar, we want to meditate that the light of the Zohar help us change and reveal more love. That's the only thing missing, especially during the time of the Omer, especially with all the chaos going on in the world, with recent events and everything. We want to awaken more love. That is where we will be able, that's the only way we'll be able to overcome all the forces of hatred, all the forces of negativity, all the forces of darkness. It is only by the love that we can awaken. Light will always be more powerful than darkness. Light and love will always remove darkness and hatred. And the fact that there is so much darkness and hatred in the world means that we just haven't revealed enough love. That's why we want to reveal through the study, through the spreading of the Zohar, through the light of Lag BaOmer that is coming up now more than ever. It is important. So, with that, let's read the prayer of the Ari to support our consciousness and connection during this study. By the way, based on the contributions so far from the crowdfunding that we're doing for the new Daily Zohar book by Michael Berg, we've raised around $18,000 out of the 52. We have pledges for another 12,000 or so. So, which means we're on our way there. We still need another 20,000, but we're making good progress. And I want to thank everyone who's supported so far and everyone who's pledged to support as well. Every little bit counts, and I'm sure that together we're going to make it happen. It's for obviously to create such a shift. It's something that's never existed before, right? A way that you just like we do every day to connect to the Zohar, but this is something that's accessible to everyone. So this daily Zohar book, I have no doubt, is going to change the world in insane ways, and to be a part of that is a huge blessing. So thank you everyone for those of you who have contributed. As we said, we want everyone to be a part of it, right? We have over 100 people joining us every day. We should have at least 100 people who contribute towards this book on whatever level they can in whatever way they can. So far we have around maybe I think 60, 65 contributions so far. Some people repeated the contributions, but everyone can be a part by even giving a little bit. I'll try and post the link again in case someone needs it. That way, we can all be a part of it. So the prayer of the Ari helps us open our hearts, prepare us for our study, uh, and especially for the messages that we're going to speak about today, which uh, which are very powerful, and we want our hearts to be open to be able to receive them. We awaken deep appreciation for the merit that we have to have access to the Zohar, to be given this gift of great light, and to be given the gift of desire for the Zohar. There are billions of people in the world who don't know about the Zohar, have no desire for the Zohar, have no care for the Zohar. The fact that the few of us are here is indicative that we've been chosen, and it's our job to reveal this light. ריבון העולמים ואדוני האדונים, אב הרחמים והסליחות, מודים אנחנו לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, כי דעו והשתחוויה שקרבתנו לתורתך ולעבודתך עבודת הקודש, ונתת לנו חלק בסודות תורתך הקדושה. אנו בחיינו שעשיתי בנו חסד גדול כזה. על כן אנחנו מפנים תחת לפניך שתמחו ותסלח לכל חטאותינו ועוונותינו ואל יהיו עוונותינו הבדלים בינינו לבניך, וכן ירצוך אנחנו אדונינו ואבותינו, שתכונן את לבבינו ליראתך ולאהבתך, ותקשיב אוזנך לדברים אלה, ותפתח לבבינו הערה בסודות תורתך, ויהיה למדנו זה נחת רוח לפני כיסא חברתך כך ניחוח, ותציל עלינו עומק כל נשמתנו בכל בחינתנו, ושתנצוצו ניצוצות עבודך הקדושים, שהייתם גדית את דבריך לבעולם, וזכותם וזכות אבותם וזכות תורתם ותמתם ושבתם, יעמוד אותנו לבן הקשר בדבר המלך וזכותם לעינינו, ומה שאנו עומדים כמאמן, אם זמירות ישראל גלנה וביטן תפלו מתורתך, כי אדוני ייתן חוכמה מפיו דעת ותבונה. יהיו לרצונים לפי הגן מלפניך, אדוני צורי בגואלי. Here we go. Paragraph 55. We've been discussing verses in Ecclesiastes that the sages of the Zohar, that Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yosef are discussing, are revealing. Where do they start? They're revealing the deeper meaning behind these verses, saying that they contain great secrets and great light. And they're speaking about specific verses in the first chapter. First chapter, third chapter, ninth chapter of Ecclesiastes. And the verse that we're discussing is about how a person is guided in life and how our choices determine our reality and our experience. So the Zohar continues and explains, right, saying how the tzaddikim, the righteous people, people with consciousness, people with a desire to share, their actions are all according to peace and all according to the spiritual realms. Their consciousness and actions create great flow and light in this world. And people who the Zohar calls wicked, those with low consciousness, those with selfish consciousness, their actions are not to bring light to the world, but it's to serve their own selves and ego. And because they are self-serving, it actually ends up causing more darkness in the world. It's not that we shouldn't take care of ourselves, but our desire should not be limited to only ourselves, because then we're taking endless light and we're constricting it in a limited way when light is supposed to be limitless. And our actions that are not in accordance with the laws of the universe cause blockages in flow in our own lives and in the world. So the Zohar continues and explains, everything is according to a person's desire. Everything depends on our desire. Dichtiv, as it says, the verse that we were talking about yesterday, saying that, or just recapping part of the verse, everything is done beautifully in its time, meaning the tzaddikim know how to reveal light in the proper time, know how to choose the path of the right column, path of sharing, path of kindness, path of love, and therefore they bring the blessings into their lives. The world is put in their hearts, which means everything is for the sake of revealing light in the world. It's all according to the desire of their hearts. So a person who it does not have consciousness, a person who's unaware of the Creator's involvement and the Creator behind the scenes of everything going on from beginning to end, that represents a lower state of consciousness. So to understand that it all goes according to our desire, and a person who experiences good or bad, a person who experiences light or darkness, it depends on. It's not about what happens; it's about where their consciousness is. Right, like the story of Reb Zusha, who a few of the students of the Maggid Mezrich, they went to Reb Zusha, they went to the Maggid Mezrich and they asked him, it says the Kabbalistic writings in the Talmud and the Zohar, it says that a person should bless the Creator, thank the Creator for the challenges, for the darkness, for the bad they experience in life, the same way they would bless and thank the Creator for the blessings and the good they experience in life. And they couldn't fathom, they couldn't understand how someone could experience, how could someone live that way? How could someone bless the Creator for a tragedy or for a challenge? So he said, you guys should go ask your friend Reb Zusha. And they went to Reb Zusha's house, and Reb Zusha lived a very difficult life. He had a lot of challenges in his relationship with his children, with financially, with his health. Actually, I don't know if he had challenges with his health. I know the Maggid of Mezrich had a lot of challenges with his health. And they went to him and they said, look, our teacher sent us to you to ask a question. He said, okay, well, I'm honored. What question can I help answer? They said, look, we know they're supposed to bless the Creator for both the good and the bad equally. How can we possibly wholeheartedly thank the Creator for the challenges the same way we thank the Creator for the blessings? How can I thank the Creator for the curses the same way I thank the Creator for the blessings? And Rabbi Zusha was in shock. He said, I have no idea why our teacher would send you to me. I've never experienced anything bad in my entire life. And the understanding is that Rabbi Zusha understood that the bad, the quote unquote bad, the challenging, dark, negative experiences, it all depends on your consciousness when you experience them. Because when a person feels the Creator's endless love, then even those moments of a challenge, and obviously this is a very high level to be at. Most of us are not there yet, and hopefully none of us will have to go through the great challenges and darkness that many of the tzaddikim go through. But it's also through that darkness that they're able to find the Creator's deeper love. They're able to find the path back to the light, and the Zohar will explain this now. Because it says, and therefore, when a person doesn't see the Creator's hand in everything, when a person doesn't see that really when a person doesn't see that their actions, their desire is what directs, is what influences what happens in life, that my desire determines everything that I experience. And when my desire is not on point, when my desire is connected to selfishness, then that's what I cause. Things are not going according to the level that they should be. I'm not doing the work that I should be. My actions and my spiritual work and my actions are not in accordance to the spiritual root. Rather, I'm instead following my desire of my limited self. Right? There is a path. There are clear actions that reveal light. There are intentions that cause revelation. There is a way that we can live in affinity with the Creator's desire. But then there is everything else. There is my own selfish, stubborn, self-centered, short-sighted desire based on instant gratification and short-term relief that is contrary to truth, contrary to true fulfillment. And when I take that path, that is when I express those actions from my limited self, it doesn't cause the spiritual connections that are meant to bring light into my life, into the world. So it all goes according to a person's desire, but there's two levels of desire. I mean, many levels of desire, but the simple way to understand it is there's the desire of the Creator that I'm in touch with and I express, and there's the desire of my ego that I express. It's one or the other, right or left, sharing or selfish, connected or disconnected. Maktiv, Batai, what does the next verse say? Yadati ki ein tov bam ki im lismoch ve'lasot tov bechayav. I realize that the only worthwhile thing there is for them is to enjoy themselves and do what is good in their lifetime. What does that mean? What is yadati ki ein tov bam? I realize the only worthwhile thing for them to do. I realize the only good. Yadati ki ein tov bam be'inu navadin. I see that there is nothing good that is caused by my selfish actions. As we're reading from the Zohar, we want to attain this consciousness, not just understand this in theory, but to realize my actions that are inspired by my ego's desire, my actions that direct me in a way of selfishness, in short-term relief, in reactivity, ein tov bam. I understand that it doesn't awaken the light. It doesn't connect me to my source. It doesn't actually bring the blessings that I desire in my life. Yeah, maybe I feel good for 5 minutes. Maybe I get what I want for 5 seconds. Ein tov bam. There's no goodness there. I'm not connected in this moment. I have a shot of adrenaline, a shot of light, but it's not sustainable. It doesn't actually fulfill me. Because my actions, when they are ruled, when they are inspired by my ego and my selfishness and my lower self, they are not in accordance with the universe. They are not actually going to bring me happiness, even though I want to believe that I will be happy because of this selfish and negative action. Ki im lismoach. Really, the whole point is to come to a place of to be happy, right? To come to a state of consciousness, of certainty, of happiness. To realize my selfish actions will not make me happy. But at that moment, how will I realize that I need to be happy? How will I realize that my selfish actions are not going to actually bring me to the fulfillment that I desire? I come to realize that whatever comes to my life, I realize whether the good or bad that I experience in my life, I come to appreciate, I come to thank the Creator. The person will then come to a state to do good in their life. The experience that a person has in their life is a result of the choices and the desires that they express. When I come to realize ki ein tov bam, when I come to realize that the negative actions and the selfish actions, there is no good there. It results in chaos and darkness. Ki im lismoach, now I want to come to a state that I want to be happy. I want to realize that, okay, I'm faced with challenges as a result of the negative consciousness that I've had, the disconnected consciousness that I have, and then it inspires me, v'lasot tov bechayav. It inspires me to do the spiritual work in accordance to my soul, not in accordance to my ego. So why should a person face their challenges with happiness? Why should a person accept the challenges they go through to realize, really, this is supposed to bring me to the light? Because if the selfish negative actions that are inspired by my ego brought a person negativity, brought a person into darkness, brought a person challenges, because the person chose the left side and therefore the forces of the left, the forces of negativity, have control over them. A person should be happy in this moment and should be thankful at that moment, because he caused this for himself, and he went obliviously, he went without consciousness, like a bird that is trapped in a snare, trapped in caught in a trap. But as soon as you realize that you've been caught, as soon as you realize that you have been trapped by your selfishness and your ego, only when you realize you're trapped can you free yourself. What helps a person realize that they've been trapped? When do most people find themselves turning to change or to spirituality or to realizing they have to make a change in their life? It's only when chaos occurs in their life. So Rav Ashlag here from the Zohar reveals that the moments of darkness, the moments of the challenges, the moment, and it doesn't have to be crazy, horrible, traumatic things. Unfortunately, yes, people do go through that. Not every time a person goes through darkness doesn't mean that they did something bad. That's not what we're saying. Darkness is an indication that I need to connect more to the light. It's not measure for measure necessarily. It's not all from this life. But the point of darkness, the point of challenges, the point of pain is not for us to suffer. It is not to punish us. It is to open up my consciousness to realize, to whatever degree, no matter how nice of a person I might be, no matter how many positive things I might have done, there is still change necessary within me. And therefore, because of the challenges a person goes through, because of the darkness a person goes through, Rav Ashlag says here, a person comes to realize, I have to change my ways. I'm in darkness, I have to choose light. I can't sink more into the darkness. A person, Rav Ashlag says, has to awaken joy and happiness for the challenge, because the challenge is awakening a person to connect to the light. Right? Like we know the story of the Zohar, where the king tests his son with the prostitute. So the Zohar says, right? The Zohar tells the story of a king who sends a prostitute to test his son to see if he will remain true to his word, will remain true to his path, and not succumb to the temptations of anything else. And it says that as hard as the prostitute tried to seduce the prince, he didn't give in. The Zohar says what brought the greatest love and connection to the king, between the king and the prince, was the prostitute. Right? Was the opportunity to, right? The lesson is also a little different, but it's the opportunity to be faced with the darkness and realize what the truth is. To be woken up by the challenge that I'm experiencing, to realize something within me needs to change. It's really the darkness that helps me realize that I've been in, that I need the light. And by studying this section, we're not asking, because Zohar is soon going to say, you don't ask for darkness. You don't ask for darkness. But the point is, when darkness comes up, that is an indication that I need more light. 56. And how do we know all of this? Dichtiv, as it says, Ki gam lo yeda ha'adam et ito. Oh, sorry. כדגים הנאחזים במצודה רעה וכציפורים האחוזות בפח, כהם יוקשים בני אדם, האדם לעת רעה כשתיפול עליהם פתאום. So Zohar quotes another verse in Ecclesiastes that says, a man cannot even know his time, meaning a person has no consciousness or awareness of what goes on in their life. How can a person be so oblivious and so unconscious? How oblivious can a person be? Zohar gives the example from Ecclesiastes, like fish that are caught in a net, or like birds that are caught in a snare, like a trap. So too, that is how so men are caught at the time of calamity, often the time of darkness and negativity, when it comes out of nowhere. But as we learn in Kabbalah 1, right, we call it the suddenly syndrome. Is there anything sudden? Does chaos come out of nowhere? No, nothing comes out of nowhere. Everything has a spiritual root that when we experience in life, it often is because of the choices that we've made. When I plant negative seeds, I'm going to experience negative fruits. When I plant positive seeds, I'll receive positive fruits. So what does ki gam lo yeda ha'adam et ito? What does it mean that a person doesn't know his time, which means a person is unconscious? Ki gam lo yeda ha'adam et ito, ma ito, what does his time mean? What does that specific time mean? Ito dahu avada de ka'avid. It represents the specific action that the person has done. As it says, et hakol asayeh febeito. As we read earlier in the verses, that everything is according to a time. It's all corresponding to a person's choices and actions. The seeds that we plant, positive ones bring positive fruits, negative ones bring negative fruits. Going to the right represents blessings and connection to the Creator. Going to the left represents selfishness and chaos, according to the connection to the left side, to the selfishness, to the other side. And therefore, when it says it's like they are like birds trapped in a snare, that represents following in the path of our selfishness. And therefore, happy are those that study the Torah. Happy are those who are connected to the path of truth and transformation. Happy are those that are connected to the light and constantly desiring to change. Right? That's what the path of the Torah is. It's not information or wisdom. It is a path of transformation. It is consciousness to override the pollution in the mind of my selfishness and to help me actually create not just behavioral changes, because that's just the effect. What causes the behavior is the consciousness. Anger management is not going to change a person. Yes, it maybe helps a person cope with the anger as it comes out, but you want to change your consciousness. You want to change the root of the anger. You want to change the root of jealousy. You want to change the root of selfishness. You want to change the root of small thinking. And that's what the Torah is, because that is what goes to the deepest of levels of our consciousness and connect us to our soul, connecting us to the tree of life. Through the study of the Torah and the connection to the wisdom, to the spiritual light, a person is able to know the paths and the ways of the Torah of the supernal King, of the Creator. Right? Also, as we study, we align our thoughts with the Creator. That's the most important thing. We said that we have two types of desire: the desire of the Creator within us, of our soul, and the desire of our ego that brings us to chaos. The Torah helps us align ourselves with the desire of our soul, the desire of the Creator. Ulmehach ba be'or keshot. And for a person to go to walk on the path of truth. What is truth? Truth means restriction. Truth means connection to the light. What is the path of lies? It means when I am convinced by the lies of my opponent that selfishness will ever make me happy. I am convinced by the lies of my opponent that negativity will ever bring to light, that darkness can ever bring light. Those are lies that our opponent makes us think that temporary fulfillment will ever make me happy. Now here Rav Ashlag explains a bit about what we've touched upon and kind of bringing everything together. So we said that there are the 28 times that King Solomon speaks about, the 14 positive and the 14 negative. But Rav Ashlag says, talking about when a person experiences negativity in their life, it's not bad. There is no bad. Of these 28 things, they're all good, but they come from the right or they come from the left. There's a time for everything. There is also a time for the left. And what is the point of the left? Right? The left is, as it says here, the dying, the uprooting the planted, right? The healing, the building up. Is healing bad? Healing sounds great, right? Right? No, slaying and healing, right? So the bad would be slaying, right? Be killing. There's a time to kill. There's a time to tear down. There's a time to cry. There's a time to mourn. There's a time to throw stones. Those times are the times when they're necessary. And Rav Ashlag here specifically saying those times of the left, the times of negativity, are there to help us realize how we need to change. And that's why when we said that Rav Ashlag, the Zohar spoke about the three senses that we have. If you remember, the eyes, the ears, and the mouth. Right? Two we have no control over, one we can control. But everything comes down to, really, because King Solomon said it's all difficult in these areas. Where does it really come down to? It comes down to the heart. Gam et ha'olam natam b'libam. The world is put in our heart, which means that the experiences, the bitter experiences that a person experiences, the challenging experiences that a person experiences, those are there to make it clear in their heart that it's really their desires that direct everything. And they have a choice. And that with the challenges they experience, they can choose soul or they can choose ego. They can choose certainty or they can choose uncertainty. And when a person is faced with darkness, they will hear the words Rav Ashlag used, Haboreach me'onesh hamar u'mitkasher batov v'chesed shebeyamin. When you experience chaos, you decide to finally leave the path of selfishness and chaos and connect more to the side of the right column and mercy and positivity. Because that's what the chaos is here to bring us to. Chaos is here to awaken our consciousness, to open up our hearts, to realize I need to connect to the light. I know these are tough discussions and concepts to speak about, and I hope it's understood that I'm not saying this without sensitivity, of course, to challenges, and not to arrogantly think challenges are just, oh, okay, I'm just going to have certainty. Of course not. Of course, challenges are very difficult. Of course, the bitter and darkness, the bitterness and darkness the person experiences feels very real and can be very difficult to deal with. But here, what the Zohar is doing is strengthening our consciousness to realize that it's in the small things and the big things. Every moment of every moment of pain, great moments of pain, and lesser moments of pain are here to awaken us to the same thing. I have changes to make me more connected to the Creator. I need to come more from my soul. I need to share more. I need to be more connected to the light of the Creator. And the Zohar completes this chapter, paragraph 57. I know we're way over time. I plan to go a lot further today, but let's just complete this chapter here. Betachazeh, come and see. The Zohar is teaching a very important spiritual rule here. Here the Zohar says, and in other places it's quoted a little differently, a person should never open their mouth to evil. Never use your mouth to speak evil, and especially never open your mouth to negativity about yourself. Because a person doesn't always know. A person doesn't know who is taking that word. And because a person doesn't know who's listening and what words are being taken by different forces, it can cause a person to fall by them. The Rav Ashlag quotes a Zohar in the portion of Tzav, paragraph 105. It's from 105 to 107. And the portion of Kiddushim, paragraph 92, where Rav Ashlag quotes these sections where the Zohar there speaks about the power of our words versus the power of our actions. Our actions affect the world from an external perspective. Our words are more powerful. Our words actually affect the world from an internal perspective. Our words, that's why the Kabbalists teach, the more powerful than actions are actually the words that we speak. They have a greater effect on us and on the world. Our words have way more power than our actions. We know they say actions speak louder than words, but energetically, spiritually, the level that words can reach, speech and words can reach, are on a much higher spiritual level. And therefore, a person using their words for positive intentions, in positive ways to reveal light, can affect much more than with the actions, because your actions are physical, they're limited to the space that you're in. But your words can affect all the spiritual worlds. Negative words can cause equal harm and damage. And that's why, for example, lashon hara, evil speech, complaining, speaking negatively about another person, lies, they affect a person's soul more than any action a person can take. But then also, when we use our words for kindness, for reading the Zohar, for love, for building, also it has a greater effect than we could ever imagine. And when the tzaddikim open their mouths, it's all for peace. It's all for light. It's all peacefully to reveal light in the world. It's not from the ego, it's from the soul. Tachazeh, come and see. Yosef when Joseph came to speak to Pharaoh, now we're going back to the story of Miketz. When he came to speak to Pharaoh to interpret his dream, Makti, what does it say? Elohim yaneh et shalom paro. He told Pharaoh, because he told Pharaoh, this is not me. The Creator will answer Pharaoh. I'm just a channel. He came with peace, and he used his words in the right way to awaken the light of the Creator in the situation and to awaken that consciousness and not to take it any ego for himself. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, Haitma, we've learned that the Creator actually has mercy. The Creator cares about the peace of the kingdom, which means there is a certain connection that monarchs, let's say, kings and queens and people, I don't know if this applies also to, maybe I guess, we kind of said this the other day, that presidents and prime ministers, they also, and different world leaders, they do have also spiritual connections. We said that's how Pharaoh got the dream. So maybe this also applies to other world leaders as well, not just kings and queens. But it says the Creator has a certain care for them, a certain connection, a deeper connection to them because they have a responsibility for the people. And the Zohar quotes the verse, speaking in the portion of Exodus, "Vayitzavem et bnei Yisrael ha'pa'omat mitzrayim." So it says when the Creator told Moses and Aaron to go and command the Israelites, it says "Vayitzavem et bnei Yisrael," commanding in a kind of a more direct, harsh uh, way of speaking. But to Pharaoh, ve'el pa'omat mitzrayim, different than how you'd speak to the Israelites. The Creator said, "Speak to Pharaoh." Right? Because Pharaoh was a king, and the Creator had a certain level of care and respect for even for Pharaoh, and we've explained that. We'll stop here. We'll continue with chapter 5, and now the Zohar is going to start to go into the process of Joseph's interpretation of Pharaoh's dreams, the interaction that he had, the vision that Joseph had, the comparisons between Joseph's interaction with Pharaoh and Daniel's interactions with Nebuchadnezzar. Beautiful and powerful things to wrap up the week tomorrow. Tonight and tomorrow is the day of Rabbi Meir Balanes and Pesach Sheni, which is a very powerful day. Maybe we'll speak more about it tomorrow, but it's we're entering a very, very powerful day today. I forgot to mention today's Malchut of Netzach. It's the final day of the fourth week of the Omer, so it's all the manifestation of perseverance. Right, our opponent's going to take us off into all these different paths. We need the Malchut of Netzach. We need this light of perseverance to help me connect to my soul's true desire and not to be led astray by the silliness of the ego. Lots of love to everyone. Have an amazing day, and see you tomorrow.